Rhetoric is the most important skill on earth. It is the ability to use words to persuade other people. It's what leaders, politicians, advertisers, the best people in history and the worst people in history all use rhetoric to influence people. And we're going to begin our study of rhetoric with micro-rhetoric. Micro-rhetoric has a few different parts. The first thing we're going to look at is word choice. Why pick one word versus another word? How can we use a specific word choice to influence the way that people perceive something? For example, let's say I'm referring to an old senator. I could say the old senator, which is slightly rude but basically neutral. I could say the decrepit senator. Decrepit means like he's so old that he's falling apart, barely able to stand. It's a very negative tone. I could say the venerable senator. That means he's old but dignified, deserving respect. All of these descriptions literally describe the same thing, but that word choice is so important because the specific word that you use or that somebody else uses is going to have such a huge influence on this. So at the beginning of micro-rhetoric training, you're going to be looking heavily at word choice. Why pick this word instead of this word? Why does the author use this word instead of a synonym? Those types of questions. Then we're going to look at comparisons. Let's say I want to describe somebody that's very, very strong. I can say that he's strong as a lion. That makes him sound mighty, dignified, respectable, awesome, leader-like, the king of the jungle, all that kind of stuff. Or I can say, this person is as strong as a baboon on PCP. Still a very strong, animal. A baboon on PCP might actually be stronger than a lion, but notice it is not a positive connotation. It sounds like a baboon's not a mighty and heroic animal, and if you had PCP, this illegal drug, it just doesn't sound good at all. So even though you're still describing somebody who is very strong, you're describing them in such a negative and laughable way. And that's another great example of micro-rhetoric. It's these tiny little pieces, these small parts of sentences that we use to influence. Then you also have sneaky things. For example, you have backhanded compliments. Let me give an example. Let's say I want to call a senator old, but I don't want to call him old because that's rude. So I might use what looks like a positive word. I might use the word venerable, which looks positive. I might say the venerable senator's technology bill doesn't address modern problems. Now, on the surface, it looks like I'm complimenting him. I'm calling him venerable, respectable, dignified. But what am I saying? I'm saying that he's old and he's out of touch with modern problems. Without actually insulting the senator directly, I am creating an underlying insult. And these backhanded compliments are the third and one of the most important forms of micro-rhetoric. In the first few worksheets, whether you're doing SAT essay, college essays, some other form of rhetorical training, these first worksheets are going to focus on micro-rhetoric, and then we'll later move on to macro-rhetoric.